Good evening, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for coming this evening to the Aga Khan Museum to commemorate the opening of Syria, A Living History. I'm pleased, first of all, to acknowledge some very distinguished guests among us tonight. The Honourable Mélanie Joly, the Minister of Canadian Heritage, and also the Honourable John McCallum, the Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship. It's an honor to have you here. My name is Henry Kim, and I'm the Director and CEO of the Aga Khan Museum. I'm very pleased to share this moment with you, as I do not believe that there has been a topic more in our minds than Syria in recent years. Who could have foretold that the conflict that arose from the embers of the Arab Spring in 2011 would still be raging, unresolved, and unrelenting over 6 years later? The isolation that most people in the world normally feel to conflict, sitting thousands of miles away in the comfort we are accustomed to, and with the truthful lies we tell ourselves. It can't be as bad as they say. It will get better. It will be over soon. This isolation would be inconveniently broken by this particular conflict. It was the year 2015 that changed all of this. As the year began, the refugee crisis truly erupted on the world stage, as the news reported on boats filled with tens of thousands of refugees landing on the shores of Europe, and then beginning their migration over land into the heart of Europe. For me personally, it was 21 days in the summer of 2015 that forever changed my mind. In August, we learned of the murder of the Syrian archaeologist, Professor Khalid al-Assad, a friend and colleague to many of us, who heroically chose to remain in Palmyra, dedicated to his science. This was followed by images of the destruction of the temple of Baal Shahim in Palmyra. The most powerful shock, a truly pivotal moment, took place in early September, when images emerged of a toddler washed up on a beach near Bodrum in Turkey. We later learned his name was Alan Kurdi from Kobani. Syria became a global issue. It became an important national issue in many countries, changing the course of politics through the responses of governments and people to the humanitarian crisis that was unfolding. I applaud what Canada has done in opening its borders, and what Canadians have done in opening the doors to tens of thousands of refugees. I applaud everyone here who has supported Syrian refugees and the many organizations that have been formed for their aid, as well as the Syrian families who are here tonight. I have to say thank you so very much. As a museum and arts organization, what role can we play? I personally believe the work that museums do should and must be relevant to the issues of today. They should reflect our times and resonate with the questions that are top of our mind. Museums and the arts can be responsive. They can be brave. As we reviewed in this museum in September of last year, our programming for 2016, we made a quick decision to find space in our program schedule for a season devoted to the culture and heritage of Syria. We felt there was clear need to create programs that offered our public with a chance to learn more about the remarkable history and artistic heritage of this region, to understand who are the Syrians, both in the past and in the present. Syria, A Living History, brings together artifacts and artworks that tell a different story of the country, one of cultural diversity, historical continuity, resourcefulness, and resilience. It shows that Syrians are Hittites and Sumerians, Greeks and Persians, Romans and Byzantines, Mamluks and Ottomans. They are the people in the news today, and they are our neighbors. They are now our neighbors who live next door. Syria, a living history, is what the Aga Khan Museum truly stands for. Opened just 2 years ago, the museum's mission is to connect cultures through the arts, offering our public with windows onto worlds unknown. It is here to inspire cultural dialogues and to promote a better understanding of the other so that we have better knowledge of our world today. I wish to thank all of you, our patrons and donors, our sponsors and partners, for all the support you have shown in these 2 years and also in helping us create this exhibition that we open today. Your efforts have allowed us to present this exciting and internationally important exhibition and its accompanying rich programming to Toronto for the first time. Now, to create this exhibition, we had to work very quickly, thinking of these ideas in late 2015 and then putting it all together pretty much in under 9 months. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge the unprecedented support of so many leading international institutions and private individuals for this exhibition, including, and it's all up there, right there, the Musée du Louvre in Paris, the Museum of Islamic Art in Berlin, the Forte Asiatische Museum in Berlin, the Metropolitan Museum in New York, the Royal Ontario Museum here in Toronto, which is the greatest lender of all objects to this exhibition, the Itassi Foundation here in Dubai, and Marilyn and Marshall Wolf, who have lent the textiles and the carpets for this exhibition. I must also thank, probably more than anyone else, our 2 curators, Dr. Nasser Rabbat and Dr. Filiz Çakır Phillip, and our historical expert, Dr. Ross Burns, for their dedication in creating this exhibition in such a short period of time. I won't ask you to do it again. Until next year. I'd finally like to acknowledge another very important partner in this exhibition, UNESCO. UNESCO has extended its patronage to this exhibition and all of its programs. And the support of UNESCO, both on the national and on the international level, has been magnificent. Dr. Irina Bokova, the Director General of UNESCO, regrettably could not be here with us tonight. However, she has recorded an introduction for our annual lecture that will take place this Sunday in this auditorium, to be delivered by the Director General of Antiquities and Museums for Syria, Dr. Mamoun Abdul Karim, who is here with us tonight. And there are a few tickets left, so if you want any, let us know. Dr. Bokova has very kindly recorded an introduction to this lecture, which UNESCO has very kindly allowed us to present here at the opening tonight. So here's the video from Dr. Bokova.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to participate in opening this exhibition, Syria, a Living History, at the Aga Khan Museum, and to introduce my dear friend, Dr. Mamoun Abdul Karim, the Director General of Antiquities in Syria. We see today in Syria unimaginable human loss and the deliberate destruction of unique cultural heritage and diversity. All 6 of Syria's World Heritage properties are damaged. 60% of the old city of Aleppo is destroyed. Countless archaeological sites are looted. Last April, I sent a rapid assessment mission to Palmyra, confirming its museum has suffered heavy damage and the temples of Bel, Baal Shamin, and the Ark of Triumph had been destroyed. No one knows better these challenges than Dr. Abdul Karim. In the most dire circumstances, the Directorate General for Antiquities and Museums has worked tirelessly to protect Syria's cultural heritage and to mobilize the international community. UNESCO is answering this call. We are leading forward the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2199 to impose a global moratorium on trade in illegally exported artifacts from Iraq and Syria. We are working with partners to end the financing of terrorism through illicit trafficking. We have adopted an emergency action plan for Syria to mitigate damage, evacuate thousands of threatened objects, and plan for recovery. The UNESCO office in Beirut is training Syrian professionals in documentation, archiving, damage assessment, and emergency interventions through EU-funded projects with the support of the governments of Flanders and Austria. In this context, the message of this exhibition could not be more important. Syria's cultural heritage dates back thousands of years. This is a history of constant exchange, diversity, and resilience. This is a history that carries special meaning for every Syrian woman and man, and that belongs to all of us, that is woven into the history we all share as a single humanity. We must protect this past to build a better future for all. In this spirit, I thank again the Aga Khan Museum and all partners engaged in this unique exhibition. We must stand up for the cultural heritage and diversity of Syria, because this is standing up to the humanity we all share. Thank you.
And now I am pleased to introduce the Honourable Mélanie Joly, the Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be before you today. And of course, I would like to begin by acknowledging that we're on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations. And it's a pleasure to be here along with my fellow beloved colleague, John McCallum, Minister of Immigration, and of course, the local MP, Yasmin Ratansi, who is here with us as well. And j'ai eu l'occasion de pouvoir découvrir la très jolie, exposition Syria Living History un petit peu plus tôt, et ça m'a touché droit au cœur. I had the chance to have a brief outlook of what is the exhibition, Syria a Living History, and it touched me dearly because John and I had the great challenge, and he was the leader of that amazing project to bring 25,000 refugees within 2 months, just after being elected. And of all the experiences I had the chance to go through in the last year, and as a young minister, greeting the first Syrian refugees at Trudeau Airport in Montreal was the most transformative experience that I had to live as a politician. And also representing a riding in Montreal where there is a very big Syrian community, well, of course, that made me think of why I was in politics. So thank you for this exhibition. And of course, I had the pleasure of touring the exhibit with the curators, Professor Nasser, Rabbat, and Dr. Filiz Çakır, Phillip, along with Mr. Henry Kim, the esteemed director of this museum. So thank you so much for this opportunity, I was really amazed to see how over 5,000 years of arts and artifacts could be assembled to showcase the diverse cultures that have existed in Syria. The Mesopotamian, the Greek, the Roman, the Byzantine, the Persian, Ottoman, and of course Arab cultures have all inhabited the land we call Syria today. And they have all left their mark on modern-day Syria and contributed to our world heritage. This exhibition has helped me reflect on my own role as Minister of Canadian Heritage. As Minister responsible for multiculturalism, a big part of my mandate is highlight the ways that diversity and inclusion contributes to what it means to be Canadian. Similarly, this exhibition links together heritage and multiculturalism and provides a glimpse into the positive legacy diversity can create for a future. Earlier this year, I had the honor of meeting with His Highness, the Aga Khan, and we had a great conversation regarding the importance of multiculturalism in Canada and its continued contribution to enhancing and enriching our national fabric. There couldn't have been a better time for Syria, a living history, to be showcased in Canada. Over the last 1 year, we as a country have welcomed thousands, I think it's 31,000, John, at this point, 31,000 refugees displaced by the Syrian civil war. And this This exhibition is an excellent opportunity for Canadians to learn more about Syrian history and culture with greater understanding and appreciation. I also had the chance to meet a month ago with Dr. Irina Bokova at UNESCO in order to discuss the importance of preserving our world heritage. And Canada has been, in the past, at the forefront of the entire dialogue and conversation regarding the importance of UNESCO. And you can be sure that our government will reinvest in UNESCO and making sure that we're a world leader in protecting our world heritage. Et donc, c'est notre engagement répété à soutenir une société qui est inclusive, à faire en sorte que notre curiosité puisse nous aider à découvrir d'autres cultures et changer notre vision du monde. En fait, que c'est un plaisir pour moi d'être devant vous ici et d'être la ministre en charge du multiculturalisme. Et grâce à des expositions comme celle-ci, nous avons la chance de stimuler cette curiosité. C'est une grande richesse. And I would like to thank the Aga Khan Museum and the Canadian Commission for UNESCO, who have partnered together in order to bring this exceptional exhibition here. And I want to thank also Marilyn and Marshall Wolf, which I had the chance to meet a bit earlier, for their contribution, their collection of artifacts and collaboration with museums from around the world, including our own Royal Ontario Museum, have made this exhibition possible. So now I would like to declare the beautiful exhibition, Syria, A Living History, officially open. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Joly. Now, please join me in welcoming the Honourable John McCallum, the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Very good. I didn't know I had a medal. Thank you. Bonsoir à tout le monde. C'est un grand plaisir pour moi d'être ici encore une fois. It seems longer ago than this, but it's almost exactly a year ago. I was standing on this stage in a debate during the last federal election campaign on the subject of citizenship. I won't go into it further than that, but it was a memorable experience. And let me also say I'm always very pleased to be here with my colleague Mélanie Joly, even though she's just leaving, because we have a certain history together. It was after the election was over and before the cabinet, there was a lot of speculation about who would be in the cabinet. And there was an article in Maclean's magazine with two photos, a photo of her and a photo of me. And the title of the article about cabinet speculation was Old Dogs and Children. So I'll leave it to you to guess which of the two of us was which. But it's always a pleasure for me to be here with her and also with my colleague Yasmin Ratansi. And I'll leave it to my colleague, the Minister of Heritage, to comment on the cultural side of this exhibit. But I just want to congratulate you on your timing, because I think at a time when the world is focused on tragedy and horrendous things happening in Syria, that you should remind us in the rest of the world of the 5,000 years of rich cultural history of Syria. That is a very good thing, and I congratulate you on that act. I would also mention, as has been mentioned, the fact that we brought in initially 25,000 Syrian refugees, and now it's up to 30,000. And as a Canadian, I must say, I was proud of that. Not so much because we did it, which I think was a good thing, but I was proud at the warmth with which so many Canadians came out to welcome the Syrian refugees. You know, it wasn't just a government project from CN, which contributed $10 million to our Prime Minister welcoming the first plane with the photo seen around the world, to the little children with welcoming signs. It was a truly national project, and I think the world noticed because we did this at a time when so many other countries around the world were closing their doors to refugees. We said, come on in. They came on in, and Canadians responded in a really, really welcoming way. So I am delighted that that happened and to be able to report on that to you this evening. And the last thing I would say is that while we celebrate 5,000 rich years of Syrian history with this exhibit, I can assure you that the fact of admitting the 25,000 refugees so quickly from Syria will forever be an important part of Canadian history. So thank you very much, and congratulations on this wonderful exhibit. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister McCallum. At this point, I'd now like to turn to our curators, the people who actually made this exhibition happen. And I'd like to now invite Dr. Filiz Phillips, our curator at the Aga Khan Museum and co-curator of the exhibition, to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I have been immersed in Syria for several months now, and it's hard for me to believe that it's the time to share this magnificent country and its culture with you. 5,000 years of Syrian history is told through the ancient cities, the Tel Halaf, Tel Brak, Palmyra, through the most vibrant cities of Aleppo and Damascus, and through the historic cities of Antioch and Homs, all of which have shared their rich cultural heritage and have inspired me through the entire process of preparing this exhibition. Let me tell you a little about the essence of exhibition. You will be amazed by the contribution of Syria to the world. On display for you, it's the legacy of Syria shown through various beliefs, languages, and multicultural history that shaped the tradition of tolerant pluralism in Syria. We organized this exhibition by creating 6 thematical sections: divinity, humans and beasts, religion and state, the home, affinities, as well as vagaries of time. The exhibition ends with a hope for Syria and its future. One of my favorite artworks on display is a particular vase from the collection of Louvre that depicts Ushmu, the Akkadian messenger god in Mesopotamian mythology. Ushmu was a god with 2 faces, and each face represented either his coming or going on errands. In ancient Roman mythology, Janus, the god of beginnings, time, and transition, was also depicted as 2-faced god, with one of his faces looking to the future and the other to the past. This is an example of how we looked at the artworks when creating this exhibition. These pieces illustrate how cultures and ideas connected over time. Together, the works in the exhibition present the past, present, and future of Syria. As Henry mentioned, we are very pleased to be working with leading international institutions. Together, 7 collections have enormously enriched this exhibition, Syria, Living History. Yannick Lintz at the Louvre, Sheila Canby from the Metropolitan Museum, and Clemens Reichelt from Royal Ontario Museum helped us to connect with Greek, Roman, Mesopotamian departments of their institutions. Stefan Weber, Ute Franke, Julia Gonella, and Nadia Holidis in Berlin State Museums helped us enormously to get the approval for our loan request in such a short period. And Marshall and Marilyn Wolf from Toronto, whom I am honored to have here with us today. Under the current circumstances, it was important for us to include contemporary artworks in the exhibition, as they show the continuity of artistic creation over time. We are honored and extremely grateful to the Atasi Foundation for connecting us contemporary Syrian artists. Dear Shireen, thank you for being with us on this very special day. I must also acknowledge and thank my trusting co-curator, Professor Nasser Rabbat, for his exceptional contribution, as well as the historian, Dr. Ross Burns, for his tireless consultation. Both Nasser and Ross shared so much of their knowledge and expertise during the development of this exhibition with me. I also want to thank to the entire team at the Aga Khan Museum. Without all of your work, hard work, none of this would be possible. Thank you. Enjoy the exhibition.
Thank you very much, Filiz. I'm now very pleased to be able to introduce Dr. Nasser Rabbat, Director of the Aga Khan Program for Islamic Architecture and co-curator of Syria, A Living History.
Good evening, everyone. How to represent Syria? Something that has occupied me for the last 4 years, both as born and raised in Syria, citizen of Syria, before coming to the US, but also as a professional, as an architectural historian, as a historian, as someone who actually cares about telling the story of Syria. This became much more urgent with the war and the destruction of the last 5 years, or a bit more than 5 years now. So I jumped on the opportunity when Henry, who is actually an amazing schemer, I have to tell you, called me while I was on sabbatical in Paris and said, I would like to take you out to dinner. He knew that that was a winning proposition. And then he said, we're going to do a show about Syria. Would you like to work with us on that? And I said, yes. I had no idea what my role was going to be. But then when he teamed me up with Filiz, who's actually the real engine behind the show, she basically allowed my imagination about representing Syria to flow. But she's the one that sort of like put the objects to sort of like anchor it on the ground and to say, if we are going to imagine Syria this way or to represent Syria this way, these are the objects that we need to look at. We came up with the thematic division based on the notion that a country that is as rich as Syria, artistically, culturally, historically, religiously, intellectually, cannot be just represented as sort of like a chronology of events and cultures. We need to sort of like somehow insert it in our notion of culture in general. So these 5 or 6 divisions are to say that how do we distill out of culture themes that could be represented artistically? And this is what we came up with. Of course, we were governed by the objects that we had. We could perhaps actually have come up with other themes. But we're very satisfied with the way it turned out. And the way, even though it is not very clear from the beginning that this is what you are confronted with when you come into the show, but in fact, you are there looking at the notion of culture as represented by the history of one particularly rich and particularly interculturally constructed country. Syria, the Syria that I grew up in and thought about, is actually not the Syria that we hear about in the news today. It is the Syria of all of these cultures living together, producing together. It is the country that has maintained for all of these centuries the residues of the cultures and the religions and the ways of life of all the people and of all the cultures that have intersected on its soil. That's why we have religions in Syria, and I'm saying religions in the plural, that do not exist anywhere else. 2 of them actually can be traced to pre-monotheistic religions. They're surviving today in an environment that has been totally monotheized, turned into a monotheistic environment. So we wanted this show to tell the world that this is a part of the world that in its history, in its artistic history, reflects the intersection of all the cultures around the Mediterranean and in Asia and in Arabia that have come together, sometimes violently, sometimes peacefully, but have left all the traces on the soil of the country that we would like this show again to distill out of that story. And we hope that you will be able to read that story as you turn and look at the show itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nasser. I know we are all very eager to see this remarkable exhibition, so I will not keep you for much longer. I just wanted to share with you 2 exciting events coming up that are related to this exhibition. From October the 29th to 30th, just a couple weeks from now, we are going to be hosting a truly fascinating symposium titled Syria's Art and Architecture, a Multicultural History, with Professor Nasser Rabbat. So if any of you would like to attend that, please do sign up for that 2-day symposium. And on December the 11th, experience the premiere performance of the newly formed Al-Kawa Ensemble, performing traditional songs from Syria's Arabic, classical, and popular repertoires. Again, I urge you to visit our website, to look at our program guides, and to see what's coming up to support this exhibition, whether lectures, performances, or conferences. We also have a wonderful initiative in our shop, the Welcome to Toronto Coloring Book. The book costs $20, And funds will go towards hosting a special day at the museum for new Syrian families in Canada. And again, you can find this book in our gift shop tonight. One final reminder, you are welcome to enjoy all of the museum today. Permanent galleries, temporary galleries, and the reason I say this is that I do suspect that the Syria exhibition will be a bit crowded if all of you try to get in there at once. So please feel free to make use of the museum as a whole tonight, and I do very much hope that you enjoy Syria, a living history. Now, let's explore Syria through its many arts and perhaps find some new perspective. I'd like to celebrate the opening of this exhibition and again to thank our contributors, our donors, our patrons, our board, everyone who has been here to support what is truly a unique and remarkable initiative this museum has done to celebrate the rich, multicultural, diverse, and pluralistic history of Syria over 5,000 years. Thank you very much.